As long as we are in good health, it's easy to forget about illness. But if a family member or a close friend is seriously ill or injured, the suffering and expense is brought home to us. In our 20s, 30s, and 40s, the death rate is low, and we know how to provide some protection for the economic loss, life insurance. But what kind of insurance protection can we have from huge hospital bills and loss of earnings? Yes. An emergency ambulance run may cost $100, and hospital care can be as much as $300 per day. The doctor's fee, x-rays, medicine, equipment, and so on may cost hundreds more. And think of the lost earnings. Can you afford the ski trip or that motorboat race? Without health insurance, you may not want to go down that ski slope. Long illness due to accident or disease can destroy your budget too. Your savings may be lost, and you may have a huge debt. Besides suffering and death, what can happen? Right. Of course, inflation has increased the cost of everything in recent years, but it has raised medical care costs more than other expenses, and hospital rates most of all. But costs vary greatly from one region to another. Why have hospital costs risen so fast? Possibly because of the pressure from Medicare and Medicaid, and from Blue Cross and similar plans. What may be another cause? Yes. For the past 50 years, a pattern of health insurance features has emerged which meets most family needs. Income during disability, regular and major medical expense, hospital and surgical expense, and special coverage including dental costs. Perhaps half of the financial impact of illness or injury is loss of earned income. The usual health and accident policy, such as Blue Cross, doesn't cover this, but disability income insurance does. What are some other health expense needs? Yes. Most disability income policies specify a waiting period between the time the disability occurs and the time payments begin. These waiting periods act like deductibles on auto collision insurance, lowering the premiums because they save the company the costs and administration of many small losses which can be borne by the individual. If you become unable to work permanently or for a long period of time, you could lower your living standard. Your spouse could work. Social Security would probably make monthly payments, and income taxes would be reduced. But you might need some extra income help. What kind of insurance could provide it? Right. Depending on your age and job, you might pay as little as $40 per year for $200 a month disability income for 5 years with a 30-day waiting period. Here are some other rates. Those of us who have had little experience with hospitals may find current charges staggering. When members of our family are in a hospital, we wish them to have the very best of care. And in an emergency, expense is not a consideration. But later it is. And if you have no hospital insurance, the bill itself may be a trauma. More than likely, in fact, if you don't have hospital insurance, you may have problems at admission that are similar to renting a car at an airport without a credit card. Is that easy? Hospital insurance pays most of the cost for the hospital room and other hospital expenses like nursing care, operating room, x-ray, lab tests, and the like. Some outpatient costs are allowed. But the plans offered are so varied and complex, it is hard to compare them. Surgical insurance is often combined with hospital insurance and pays within limits, a specified part of the cost of surgery. This could be from a few hundred to more than $1,000. How would you describe most health insurance policies? Medical insurance pays for doctor's fees, including office calls and outside lab tests. To hold down the cost of premiums, the first call or two for a single illness is sometimes deductible. 40% of Americans are covered by Blue Cross Blue Shield, which is a sort of health insurance cooperative started a generation ago. Blue Cross provides hospital insurance. Blue Shield provides surgical and major medical. Today, private companies are very competitive. In most companies or agencies, when you go to work, you're invited to join a group health insurance plan, often with company-paid assistance. Which costs does Blue Cross insure? American health insurance premiums are now approaching $50 billion, with group insurance accounting for a large percentage of that amount. This is an enormous sum. Total health premiums, once only 2% of total personal income, are now 4%. Originally, Blue Cross plans were set up by hospitals which joined into cooperatives, often with major employers. Later, Blue Shield was organized. Besides medical, what expense does Blue Shield cover? Yes. In addition to group policies, individuals can purchase policies for themselves and their families directly from Blue Cross Blue Shield or a private insurance company. When you leave a job where you had group coverage, often you can convert the coverage to an individual policy, usually with higher premiums. Insurance is a risk-spreading system based on statistical probability or group experience. Another means of spreading and reducing costs is the Health Maintenance Organization, or HMO, which is essentially a group practice including a number of doctors. The HMOs are based on two assumptions. Group medical practice can be more efficient, and preventive medicine is less expensive than dealing with illness. What does HMO stand for? Right. A number of HMOs have been successful, such as the Kaiser Healthcare Plan. But many regular doctors' practices are just as efficient, and perhaps as effective in preventive care, without the unlimited care of HMOs. Successful HMOs, such as Kaiser, may in large part rely on a fortuitous member selection procedure, which results in a relatively lower need for service. is a massive federally funded health care program for older persons, which is administered by the individual states. Can you think of its name? Yes. Medicare is the health insurance feature of the Old Age, Survivors, Disability, and Health Insurance Act, OASDHI, which primarily provides health care payments for qualified citizens over 65. Medicaid is something else. It's federally supported, but is designed for those who are receiving public assistance or welfare. It provides a means of funding their health services. Medicare provides basic hospitalization and supplementary medical insurance. Subject to some deductibles, limits, and co-insurance, it pays for hospital care, doctor and nursing services, facilities, and medicine. Medicare is funded by Social Security. What is the name of the health system which provides welfare services? In addition to hospitalization, Medicare provides funds for home care, some psychiatric care, X-ray, lab and diagnostic tests for qualified persons over 65. What is the law and source of funds for Medicare? Yes. At 65, most of us will feel secure in having our health policies supported by this major senior citizens program. And when you retire, there might possibly be a national health insurance system similar to that in Britain for all citizens. Don't forget, an important feature of the present Social Security system provides for a less common but critical benefit. What is it, and what is the most it could pay? Yes. Now's the time to look over your health care protection. You almost certainly are covered by Social Security and probably by Blue Cross or a similar group plan. If your spouse works, check to see if you're covered by two plans, and if so, in what way. Are you sufficiently covered for a broken arm, but not for a heart attack or cancer? You may have gaps in your coverage, especially major medical risks. Don't forget, even if your policy covers your entire family, children over 18 may not be covered. You should also check for disability income restrictions on the second wage earner in your family. Read the fine print carefully in order to understand the definition of an accidental injury. It may rule out payment for something you did intentionally, but didn't expect to result in injury, such as moving a refrigerator and straining your back in the process. Are your children always covered? Right. Disability is often very hard to define. Would you be considered permanently disabled from your job if you lost a leg? Correct. Check the deductible costs, the waiting period, and the duration of benefits. The coverage you might want must be weighed against the amount of the premium. Of course, if your employer participates in premium payment, you may have a limited choice. In this case, you may wish to supplement your health insurance coverage by an individual policy. Such policies generally are complex, difficult to evaluate, often misleading, and occasionally too expensive for the coverage they provide. Every state has laws regarding payments for injuries on the job. Unfortunately, in many cases, these do more to limit liability than to provide adequate coverage for serious injury or job-related illness. What do you think they're called? Yes. As you approach 65, review all your policies and cancel or combine them to avoid unnecessary cost and coverage. You may need some insurance to fill the gaps. How should you feel about a salesman who tries to scare you into buying?
So I said,
Yes. You can't be sure you've covered every possibility, but with Social Security, Blue Cross or other group or individual plans, and perhaps other supplemental policies and some savings, you can feel reasonably sure you have provided for nearly every medical risk. Good health